Welcome back, guys. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. In the F1 500 TA this week, Gran Turismo's own take on a Formula 1 car, a mid-80s-esque F1 car, in the fantastic livery by Kapow X, the 1999 Jordan Buzzing Hornet of Damon Hill. We get underway in the first race here at Suzuka, where all the races were, obviously, like they always are. Daily race A in Suzuka, smash straight into the back of the South African driver as I start 11th on the grid. He for some reason hasn't moved since I've punted him, so God knows what's going on there, as the Saudi driver is off already. And I'm up 2 positions, although I did start in 11th, so technically 1, as I go through another 2 as we glitch through the start of this race. These cars are absolutely unbelievably tricky to drive. As soon as you're hitting that turbo set of the car just absolutely wanted to kill you, as you see Nigel Mansell off in the background, and also 80s Ferrari in the background too. So coming up to the big hairpin, massive dive bomb, bit of tyre banger with Swoot, who then I lose the back end and lose a few positions. Not ideal, but like I said, as I get another tap from behind from the Turkish driver, and he loses the rear end, and there's someone else in the background off as well. So as you can see, not the only one that I was struggling to keep the car on the track, but like I said, these turbos kick in and the car absolutely wants to kill you. As Suet's now going through slow, I've ghosted through him up into 5th, good start, and then take an unbelievable line through the final chicane and ruin all my hard work from the first lap. Wouldn't recommend that driving line personally, but anyway, we move on from about 5th place down to 8th. So instead of what race could have been, it is now sort of a recovery drive already after 1 lap. But first race, you just got to settle in, get used to the car. Although this week I struggled ridiculous amounts and never really got to grips with the car, due to the car trying to kill you at every opportunity. Anytime you hit that throttle with a bit of lock on the wheel, it just wanted to throw you off and eat you up alive. Coming through Degner 1 into Degner 2, yellow flags ahead. Cut that a little bit, but seemed to get away with it. Chasing down Pink Panther through the hairpin. Plenty of Brits in this race, me included. As I go very wide there, you do not want to be touching that grass. Fatal, absolutely fatal. Touching anything other than the tarmac on this track with racing softs was lethal, so thank God it wasn't any other tyre combination, because the grip was not there on the best tyres, let alone what it would have been like on the worst ones. Coming through 130R, more yellow flags as I say, yet another incredible racing line there. Into the final chicane, took it much better this time. Coming on to lap 3, Suet right ahead of me, I hope that's how you pronounce it, and Nigel Mansell breathing down our necks, it looks like. Coming into the first corner, braking at the 50-metre board hard, bit late there. Another great racing line to be taken. On the AstroTurf, no grip, let Nigel back through. More lag from my capture card, apologies. So it started off so well, got myself up to about 5th, I think it was. Now back into 9th. And like I said, it has become more of a recovery drive now. A sack behind is absolutely all over the back of me. Another dodgy corner cut there. Through Degner 2, nearly losing the back end. I don't know why this one's so laggy, to be honest, but we go with it anyway. Bit wide on that exit, letting sack, right over the back of me. Try to stay off the grass this lap, and probably not the greatest line there either. So God knows what I've been doing in this one. I know I'm trying to get to grips with the track, but normally when there's a left turn you should just turn left instead of going straight on. That's normally how it works, but obviously don't use my racing example as Bible, as I have an absolutely massive tank slapper. I tried to correct it, lose the rear end, and now I'm doing Max Verstappen donuts before I've even won a race. Still wheel spinning now. Don't know what I'm doing there. Showboating. Anyway, 2 laps left to salvage any dignity out of this race. With the Saudi driver still miles behind. Don't know if he's actually playing or not, but I've not seen him for a long time now. So maybe he's just struggling like I am. So on to lap 4, chasing down the Swiss driver and hopefully one of the British drivers. With a bit of open track, just try and get my head down and do some good laps. Get used to the car as there's yellows ahead. Marshall's doing a fantastic job here in Suzuka, unlike last week. If you watch the Grand Prix, hopefully there'll be no tractors interfering with this race, as it looks quite dry compared to the F1 race. Although we have finished about half as many laps as they have, the driving standard isn't quite there. Anyway, pushing on now to Suet. The Swiss driver has disappeared somewhere, so I don't know if he's left or just absolutely flew up the order. But catching up to Suet now. He's had a real torrid time over this last few corners, and I'm absolutely all over the back of him, coming towards 130R. Somewhere you don't really want to be going 2 by 2. Let off the throttle a little bit, see if I can force him into a mistake, as I do manage to force him into a mistake, picking up 9th. So the chase is on for Pink Panther, who is just a hook ahead. As you can see, there's some contact ahead as the camera angle changed, and I think that is, yeah, that's the Swiss driver Sack. So he's had more trouble in this race, and that just solidifies the statement I made earlier where I said it was ridiculously hard to control this car. I know this is my first race, I don't know how many everyone else had done obviously, but it don't matter how many races you had, as soon as you put your foot down on that throttle and you're slightly turning, you're going into the wall. And even when you try and correct it, you're probably going into the other wall. So trying to force Sack into a mistake now. Trying to force him into making another error, which we've all done in this race. I gave him a little bit of a shunt there, so back off, let him have the corner, then get back on the throttle now. Try to keep my driver rating up and my safety rating, as there's someone out of spin, up to 8th now. Another 3 position. Like I said, you can't let off. Oh, the Sack's gone wide, so gave me a little bit of a love tap coming back onto the track, nothing major. Trying to stay ahead here, take up as much room as I can, through 130. I don't want to be going twice through. He gave me another tap and another one. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton at Brazil all over again. He's gone another one. Another tap as I come through this final chicane and get absolutely wiped out, and the cameraman has not picked up on that. And I've gone from 7th position to 9th position over one chicane. Now, I wasn't too happy with this, as you can imagine, so I wanted to have a look from his point of view, see if it was just a genuine mistake or if he was just a shameful rammer, to be honest. So that was from when I gave him a little love tap from behind. Nothing major, gave him his place back, and then he has an absolute massive tank slapper, which is why I breeze by him on the inside here. Little love tap when he rejoins as I'm slowing up and he's back on the throttle. Nothing major. We'll carry on as we go. Still in the same positions, me ahead, him slightly behind. He's definitely got the run here. Didn't let off, hits me there, then hits me again. We both come back on track, and this is the one I'm worried about. That one turned in on me, weren't going to make it, weren't going to make the chicane, and then tries his Verstappen Hamilton Monza trick and shoves me into the barrier, into the sandpit. Sorry. Finishes 7th, gets no penalty, and I'm back down into 9th. So annoyed at that. Jumping into race 2, traction controller on 1 again, 2nd gear from the start. Few people jump the start. This is from my POV this time, and again from the start I'm showboating, doing donuts as I ran into the back of someone, and for some reason people just didn't want to start this race. I don't know why. Thankfully ghosted through 2, so then he unghosts and forced me a bit wide, but we move on. He then just drove himself into the sand pit, so obviously struggling. Like I alluded to earlier, everyone does it, and I do it plenty more times in this video, let me tell you that. Spoiler alert. As there's a car around there, another Brit, up into 8th through Degner 1, good line through Degner 2, up into 3rd, actually not such a good line, but anyway, carry on, up into the hairpin, very deep, giving the Brit space, didn't want it, so I'll continue on, trying to get up through the gears as quick as I can so the turbo doesn't kill me. Someone's off miles of the track there, and then I get a massive shunt from the Brit behind. I think he just braked a little bit late as he let right off and let me have the position back, so fair play to him. But he's now got a massive run on me. I don't know what he's done there. He's lost the back end after all that palaver, and I keep 7th position through 130R. A lot of bravery needed here. Lift off, turn in, keep on the power, late on the brakes here, get by another one who must have not got away with cutting the chicane, and after all that carnage, doing a 360 spin, going and having a lot of contact with other drivers, we're up into 6th, moving on to lap 2. Hopefully a slightly less chaotic lap this time, as we already see the Frenchman off in front of us. Coming through this tricky section, just on and off the throttle, constantly trying to balance the car so he just did not die, as I tried my best to kill myself there on the grass. Finally can get on the throttle, trying the gear changes to keep the car balanced, late on the brakes into 3rd, there's someone off there with a penalty, up into 4th now, somehow got myself from last position, facing the wrong way on the grid, up into 4th, chasing the Frenchman who's gone wide. I've followed him, someone off behind. It's all kicking off in this, I tell you. Right, coming up into the final sector of the track. Late on the brakes, 100 board. Stay in third gear, keep the car balanced. Don't want too much throttle here, because the car will just spin you round and spit you up and chew you out. And that didn't make sense at all, but you know what I meant. As the Frenchman's all over the shop. Bit naughty, to be honest. I had the run, but I think we may be able to push him into a mistake, because he is not good control of this car at all, as he goes very wide at the chicane. And yep, third position and into the podium places. I'll take that. 1:49, one of my better laps as well in these early stages. As you can see, 12 seconds between the front two, and well, 12 to second, 14 seconds to first. They're absolutely blew us away. So this is more about keeping my cool now, keep the car on the black stuff, not in the wall, not in the sand, not on the grass, as I go straight into the sand pit there. Nearly losing the back end. So tentative on the throttle you have to be here, because like I say, as soon as you get in that zone for the turbo, you can see it on the dial on the bottom right. It's the little one in the middle. As soon as that starts filling up, that is when the car just wants to absolutely kill you. No matter what gear you're in, it has so much power. I've let the Frenchman straight back into this race just by some sloppy corners there. Try and tidy it up towards the end of the lap. As you can see top right, the leaders are absolutely gone. Lost 3-4 seconds to them nearly, just on this lap alone. So I don't think I'll be catching them anytime soon, unless they have an absolute horror crash, as I have had plenty in this car. But from looking at the bottom left, when they're doing 1:45s and I'm in the 1:49s to 2 minutes, you know that you've got a long way to go before you're catching them. So on to the penultimate lap. There's a 1:50. See, look, nearly 5 seconds off their lap time. Well, pretty much over 5 seconds, but that was the fast lap. Don't know what lap they did that on, but anyway, we carry on. Gave myself a bit of a bumper to the car behind, Chris, the other Brit, who's now got by the Frenchman. So just try and keep that gap as high as I can, obviously. Keep this podium. And I was really struggling through there, as yet again I nearly go into the gravel. Coming through this corner now, trying to keep it in a high gear so I don't lose the back end. Through Degner 1, coming up to Degner 2. Took that terribly wrong. Took it far too safe and then turned in far too early. But the gap's gone up to 8 seconds now, so I think Chris has had a little mistake of his own. And I just got to keep my cool, really, so I don't lose a podium, obviously. 21 seconds to the leader now. He's absolutely killing this race. Even second place is, what's that, 5 seconds off him. Unbelievable pace he's got out front, and obviously car control. And the Italian looks like he's gonna go and get a win, followed by the German. Can I keep my cool and get a Brit on the podium? It's looking quite good with a 9-second bumper behind. 10 second as I go through the final chicane. So starting from the back, doing a 360 spin after smashing into someone on the start finish line has worked out quite well. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I probably wouldn't have caught the leaders even if I hadn't done that, but I might have been less than 25 seconds or 23 seconds now, but I'm sure it'll get to 25 by the end of this lap off the lead up. But nevertheless, good recovery after giving the fans a few donuts on the start and finish line. Hopefully I can replicate that when I do a podium dance at the end. Coming through Degner 1 to Degner 2, took it slightly better. As you can see, not really pushing the limits of the car. I don't want to be throwing it into the wall when I've got a 10-second gap, as I try my best to do it there. But as you can see, the gap has not gone down, so Chris has obviously had his own mistake, as it's actually gone up to 12 seconds. But like I said, the lead up would be 25 seconds. It's now 27 seconds ahead, and he is probably rounding the last few corners now and crossing the line. Yep, finished 27 seconds behind the lead up, 19 seconds behind second place, but who cares. Brought it home. Well, not quite yet. Got a couple of corners through the chicane, a bit deep on the first one, much better through the second. Don't lose the back end, and we'll take a podium from last on the grid. 28 seconds behind, but we'll take it. So after that race, I thought maybe if I do what the best drivers do, which is not change livery, no, do a bit of qualifying, try and get my lap times a bit better, try and control the car a bit better, see where I was going wrong, see where I could improve, get a bit higher up on the grid. I might be able to salvage a better result. So this is my lap. Obviously I've already started. Already looking a lot more controlled with the car, if I do say so myself. Much better on and off the throttle, better through the braking zone. Degner 1 took that a bit hard, but managed to get the car controlled, ready for Degner 2. Coming up through this tricky right hander which leads to the hairpin, which was an absolute nightmare to get right, and a much better line through there. Trying to keep the car steady. As you can see, it was flinging itself all the way around. You're always wrestling with the car. I know I've said it so many times this episode, but it's so true. Braking at the 100-metre board, keeping the car in third, keeping on the throttle slightly just to balance the car, and then nail it up this straight. Coming up to a 130, you want to be in 5th gear, lift off slightly just as you get to the 50-metre board, as I have there. Keep control of it, back on the throttle, brake just after the 150 board, into the chicane, keep it in third, get it through 4th so that you can absolutely get on the throttle without losing the back end. Tight to the wall, closest to the finish line, and that was a 1:45. Jumping into the race straight after, putting me in 4th position on the grid. Straight away up the inside of the Terminator, who's had an absolute ding dong there. I don't know what's going on. So up to 2nd, Terminator, then slips one down the inside, which was a lovely move, to be fair to him. But up 1 position on the podium yet again, chasing down the 2 leaders, and hopefully can run away from the Czech driver behind. As we're coming up to Degner 1 and Degner 2, try and keep my nose clean this race. Took it a bit wide there so I didn't run into the back of the Terminator, the Frenchman. As you can see, people in the background going off. Going through the tight chicane, tight hairpin, sorry. Bit of glitch, I think the arm came out of the car there, must have been taken off a visor strip. Following the leaders still, hoping they'll battle and take each other out so that I've got an easy win. Probably won't happen again for a while, but there's always hope. Got a bit of a gap to 3rd behind already. Coming up the long straight, they're going side by side through 130R. Terminators thought better of that, lifted off, dropped him behind, and I've got a brilliant run on him now. through to the chicane. He took that very wide. I've slipped a nice moving on the inside, bit of wheel banging. Nearly lost it on the exit. Gave him his position back. Not on purpose, obviously, just through the contact going onto the grass. But we move on, and unfortunately it was us two battling. It's created a bit of a gap, as now the Belgian driver has a bit of breathing space. Did give Terminator a slight tap on the backside there, put him on the grass temporarily, but I wasn't close enough to make a move, so just let him continue on in second and chase him down yet again, try and find a place to make a move without colliding with him. And as you can see on the minimap top right, there's a big gaggle of cars from 4th through to about 8th. So we've done our job, pull away from them and just try and battle each other for a race winning a podium. As I go stupidly wide there and absolutely lose the back end. That just looks so clumsy. It's so slow, but it's so easy to do on this track. Like I said, as soon as you're on that grass and you're turning, you have absolutely no chance of correcting it, no matter what speed you go in, unless you're not going above about 5 miles an hour, but I clearly wasn't. And I've now let the big gaggle of cars on the back of me, and the two leaders are miles ahead, and I've absolutely bottled that. So from another race where it was looking quite good at the start, I'm now on a recovery drive, although it's not quite as bad as the last few races where I've recovered from the back. I'm still on the podium, so it's not all doom and gloom, but when you're on the back of the leaders, it's quite frustrating. Anyway, on to lap 3. Just down the main straight, try not to make any more mistakes. Hopefully try and catch up with the leaders once again. Will be quite hard, being that they are very quick drivers. Second place Terminator that I was chasing has now got the Belgian driver and has got the fastest lap as well. So clearly they were very quick drivers, and I was in good company till I made a stupid mistake. And I've lost the gaggle of cars from behind me again, so somehow I got away without a penalty there. Nearly losing the back end there, well held. Don't know how I managed to catch that one. And that one, drifting through the corners now, just showing off, Jim Corner-esque. As the Danish driver does the same, managed to catch it. Managed to keep relatively close, but not quite close enough to challenge for the position just yet. But watching my driving in the last few races, I wouldn't rule it out. Drifting through the last tricky bit of the race track onto the main straight, coming up to 130R, my favourite corner, keeping it flat out. Well, slight lift to balance the car, braking just after the 100 metre board, throwing it into the chicanes, and then coming on to the penultimate lap. The leaders still way out ahead, a 1:47, slightly quicker, not as good as my qualifying time, but consistency is the key, and I've not had any of that so far, as I show there and go and do some lawn mowing for the Japanese track owner, whoever it is. So it's looking like a bit of a lost cause now, but as you've probably seen, trying to keep the back end in this car is an impossible challenge. As I drift through there, fantastic shot. So hopefully ahead they'll have a bit of trouble with the car, battling each other, and I can get myself back into this race. Well, I am still in it technically, because I am already on the podium, but I obviously would like a second place or a win, because that is why you do racing, to be honest. So I've just got to get my head down really and stop making stupid errors, which is easier said than done. But we continue on, coming down the final straight, and if you look on the top right, there's been a big spin from one of the drivers. Blue Triangle was doing multiple spins there, and with all that excitement, fantastic work from the marshal again with the green flag there. Very quick response. I got a bit excited and went wide at my favourite corner. So coming on to the final lap, this is the moment of truth. First turn, turn 1, turn 2, into the S-curves, yellow flag up ahead. Terminators, gotta be him. He's dropped from first to second, and as you can see on the top right, coming through to the Dunlop curve, he isn't that much further ahead of me. Coming up to the Dunlop curve here, he's only just going through it, so I've caught him up massively, and I'm drifting through there yet again. Another fantastic shot. Cameraman earning the money today. Another bit of a corner cut, terribly taken there. Degner 1, Degner 2 taking reasonably well. Chasing down Terminator, and coming up to through the hairpin. Turn 12 now. Another yellow flag. He's having a torrid time. As you can see, he's just ahead of me now. Coming up to Spoon. And there he is, right in front of me, chasing him down. I'm in the right gears now, got a good run of him in the slipstream, and coming up to 130R, hoping he'll make another mistake, which he has done. He's in the wall. I've just managed to dodge him. Coming into the chicane, he's gone very wide, but he's tried the Max Verstappen move from Monza. Marshall's got the yellow flag out, and my dreams of getting P2 after bottling it earlier on are in the bin. So yeah, again, we're going to watch a shameful Ramar. Terminator, obviously a very quick driver. Obviously I understand the car was very hard to drive and keep under control, but he absolutely smashed it all race, and then on the last lap totally lost his head clearly. Coming through this corner here, absolutely throws it into the wall, managed to keep going in a straight line luckily, and you can just about see me in the background there. Coming up to Spoon, going very slow so he didn't overcook it. I've took it very well, to be fair. Kept my foot in, balance of the car very nice. Up into the right gear. He's in the right gear now. I'm obviously in the dirty air, so I don't want to be pushing too much through 130R, but want to let him know I'm there. He makes an absolutely massive error. Just missed him there, and then goes full Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere, punts me into the gravel, sends me spinning, and got himself a 3-second penalty, which then took me about 7 seconds to get out of the gravel. So, not happy.